Hey guys, KinoFlex here, back with another review. I just saw 28 Years Later, the long-awaited sequel to the 28 Days Later franchise. And my opinion on the film is much like the overall response to it, which has been mixed feelings, as seen with Rotten Tomatoes, which shows a discrepancy between critics and audiences. But which score is more accurate? Well, let's break it down. Let's start off with a setting which is simple enough, as it's a zombie apocalypse in the UK closed off from the rest of the world. But what makes it different from your standard zombie apocalypse movie is that the zombies here are much harder to deal with, as they're not slow and can actually chase you, which, if you ask me, is much more scary to deal with and is the biggest reason why the franchise is popular. If you're not familiar with the franchise and haven't seen any of the other movies but still want to see this, I would say go for it because it follows an entirely different cast and nothing in the previous movies is really brought up, besides the zombie apocalypse, of course. All you need to know about 28 Days Later is that a bunch of idiots fucked around some angry monkeys and found out, which is what caused the outbreak. And as for 28 Weeks Later, don't even bother acknowledging it because that gets retconned with this movie. As in that movie, the zombie outbreak spreads all across the world, but here it's confined to the British mainland. And I don't really mind because that movie just flat out sucks. But with that out of the way, let's get into the main plot. The film follows Spike, a young boy who lives with a colony of other survivors who have managed to become self-sustaining through farming and fishing. Spike's parents are his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is a well-respected member of the colony who knows how to hunt and gather supplies, while his mom, Jodie Comer, is bedridden due to an unknown disease that the adults in the community claim to not know what it is. It's implied that they do know more that they're letting on, but just aren't telling Spike, who knows something is up, and as a result, distrusts the entire community and feels alienated. The movie starts out with Spike traveling the outside world with his dad to get experience, and it's here that we get more information on the zombies who have evolved in different ways after all these years. There's three types of zombies now, and if we're going from weakest to strongest, we have the fat fucks who are really slow and can't really do anything to you unless they catch you off guard. You have the already established regular zombies that chase after you and can infect you if they get any of their bodily fluids on you. And finally, you have the alphas who are super strong and more intelligent than regular zombies, as they can organize and lead them, and have big elephant trunk dicks that flop around and they're going to catch your attention whether you like it or not. I really enjoyed this initial part of the movie where it's just dedicated to Spike and his dad, because it provides both nice dialogue and good world building. And it felt pretty reminiscent of Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, which by itself still reigns supreme as one of the best post-apocalyptic zombie stories in the genre, even if it was later sullied by people who had no real hand in making it a success in the first place. But everything begins to fall apart once they get back. At a party celebrating their return, Spike catches his dad having sex with a woman who isn't his mom, and resents him for it because it gives him the impression that he's purposely neglecting his mom's health. Spike confronts his dad over it and says that if he did care about his mom, then he would help him seek out a hermit doctor they found out to be alive while they were on the outside, because he thinks he would cure his mom of whatever illness she has. His dad tells him that his plan is stupid and a waste of time because the doctor has gone nuts and keeps on being vague by saying he wouldn't be able to help her anyway. But Spike responds by accusing him of wanting his mom to die so he can be a man whore free of consequences, which pisses his dad off so he slaps the shit out of him. This understandably puts a strain on their relationship, with Spike telling his dad to fuck off where he leaves out of guilt. But Spike is still adamant in his plan of seeking out the hermit doctor. And I really liked how this whole interaction went, because it's a kid realizing that his dad is an actual person and not someone who always makes decisions he agrees with, which made me curious to see how this plot thread would turn out. But once his dad leaves, Aaron Taylor Johnson is essentially gone for the rest of the movie, which is pretty unfortunate both because the dynamic he had with his dad was enjoyable, but also because Spike by himself is very annoying. I get that he's 12, but the character is too naive and oblivious for my liking. Sure, his dad was in the wrong for slapping him, but I was never under the impression that his mom and dad were in a happy marriage, and were simply just living together, because the few interactions we get between them is them arguing and angry at each other. And because of that, I didn't think he was cheating at all, because he was just staying out of an obligation to take care of the mother of his child, rather than a romantic obligation. He was also right in calling Spike's plan dumb, because there's a lot of risk involved to get to the hermit doctor and back when they're not sure if he's willing or can even help her, which, if we're skipping ahead, is the case once Spike gets to him. But even though Spike's plan is already not well thought out, the execution of it manages to be even dumber, because the way he goes about it is by lighting a shack on fire that catches everyone's attention, and tricks his delirious, bedridden mother into coming with him to walk all the way over there to meet the hermit doctor. Why would you ever think that it would be a good idea to put your already dying mother in that situation where it's easier for her to get mauled to death by zombies? And wouldn't it make more sense to travel to the doctor and have him come with Spike back to the colony while his mom is safe and sound? I understand that there's a risk of him saying no, but there's also an equal amount of risk in him refusing to treat her even if she's there in person. So why bother risking her life at all? This decision from Spike makes me not only dislike him for being stupid, but also for being a shitty son. since he just forces his mom to go along with his plan without consulting her prior, since they're unable to walk back to the colony because the pathway is blocked by rising tides. One slap from his dad was not enough. He needed a backhand and whipping with a belt to get him to stop acting retarded. While walking over there, they almost die a couple times. Most notably, there's one that involves a very convoluted sequence with a gas station where they both should have died, but are somehow saved by Eric, a Swedish Marine tasked with patrolling around the UK to prevent people from coming in or out, who has become stranded after a shipwreck and is a lone survivor of his unit. And the moment he's introduced, I found him to be the most compelling character in the entire movie, because this is such a great setting for this character. He's someone who hasn't experienced the zombie outbreak and is forced to adapt in a new environment after being accustomed to civilization for so long. It makes you ask questions of how his worldview differs from the other survivors at the colony. Did he actually get shipwrecked, or is he in the UK for a bigger purpose? And how he would influence Spike as a male figure in his life who isn't his father. But none of these questions are given a satisfying answer, because they of course kill him off quickly after he's introduced and give some throwaway jokes because we have to introduce another plot point, which is pregnant zombies giving birth to normal babies. Spike's mom hears a zombie yelling and for some reason goes over to it despite that making zero sense, since she should be doing the exact opposite by running away. But she finds a pregnant zombie about to give birth, and she helps her give birth to it because it luckily doesn't try to kill her, but immediately tries to when the baby gets delivered, as it's unexpectedly completely normal. Eric kills her, but her alpha husband named Samson comes and kills him. But just as he's about to kill Spike and his mom, the crazy hermit doctor shows up and sedates him with morphine. And look, the pregnant zombie scene is dumb. But this part pisses me off more because even though he's sedated on morphine, they don't take this opportunity to kill him. The moment he gets better, he is going to come back and kill all of you, which he exactly does later only to get sedated and left alive again. What reason could you possibly have to keep him alive? But after escaping from Samson the first time, Spike and his mom finally sit down with the doctor to see what's wrong with her. And he reveals that he can't help her because what she has is terminal cancer. So she really is going to die no matter what, like everyone at the colony said. It's of course sad because Spike pretty much went on this long journey for nothing, and he has to finally accept the fact that his mom is going to die. But the emotional aspects are really undermined when the mom reveals that she, along with all the other adults at the colony, already knew she had cancer but never got around to telling Spike. Are you fucking kidding me?! What do you mean nobody had the time to tell Spike when you had every opportunity to tell him that you had cancer and could have just gone home instead of going through all this pointless bullshit that endangered yourself and your son? And I know some people who like the film will try to defend this by saying that she's delirious and doesn't know what's going on most of the time. That's a terrible excuse because there are times where she is cognizant of everything going on and still doesn't tell Spike that what they're doing doesn't matter since she's still going to die. For the entire time I thought that Spike was just a bad son, but it's more than that. His mom is also just a terrible mother who endangers her own son for no reason. Then after comforting Spike, she has the doctor inject him with morphine so he can kill her, since she can't make the journey back. And when Spike wakes up, the doctor hands him her skull so he can put her on top of a mountain of other skulls as a way of honoring her. Then we get another stupid scene of Samson trying to kill them, where like I said, they just sedate him and not kill him again. It's at this point where Spike decides to go back to the colony with the baby, but once he arrives, he just leaves the baby and a note saying that he's not coming back and is going to be living in the wilderness. Little bro, what do you mean you're not coming back? If there's anything you should have learned throughout this entire movie, it's that you were not built to go outside. You spent the entire time getting saved by other people. You were saved by your dad. You were saved by your mom. You were saved by the base Swedish soldier. And you were saved by the crazy doctor. You are the worst zombie apocalypse survivalist I have ever seen. Why would you ever think that leaving your well-guarded community would ever be a good idea? And as a final fuck you, the film hilariously ends with Spike predictably getting put into danger once again by zombies, only to also once again get saved by a bunch of random survivors dressed up as Jimmy Savile. And no, this is not a joke. This is confirmed now. The film ends with the 12-year-old protagonist buddying up with people dressed up as Britain's most notorious pedophile. It's a complete tonal whiplash that felt so out of place in the movie because it goes from a serious tone to a dark comedic one. Imagine the Diddy Force just randomly showing up in your movie, and that perfectly describes my reaction in the theater. And that's the movie. I know it may seem as though I primarily bashed the film because of the terrible second half, But I was being genuine at the start of the video with my praise for it in the beginning, and I did have fun watching it when I was in the theater. I don't know if it's because of nostalgia or what, but there's something about the post-apocalyptic zombie genre that is very appealing to me, because it can move beyond simply being about zombies to being about rebuilding civilization and a close look at the people that make up those civilizations. It makes you do some self-introspection on if society really did collapse. How would you go about rebuilding it? Would you stick to the morals and worldview you had before the collapse? Or would you abandon all of that in order to become something new? I'm not saying that this movie in particular asks you those questions because that doesn't seem to be what's prioritizing, but it is something inherent to the genre that's a part of, which sort of carries it. And because of that, I'm giving it a soft recommendation. But only if you like seeing B horror movies, because if you're looking for something deep and with a tight script, you're not going to find that here. Because it's honestly a pretty dumb franchise when you watch it with a critical eye, even if the post apocalyptic setting has the potential for good stories. But those are just my thoughts, and if you have your own, then feel free to flex them off in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you!